Alright guys, just saying here, back for another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video, and today we're going to be looking at my personal top 10 Eza Dokkanfest Tur list. Man, that was a mouthful. I haven't really done many tier lists before. I think I've done like one or two, but I do really like doing them just because I get to voice my opinion on, obviously, the top 10 units of whatever category we're doing it on. So if you guys do want to see more top 10 lists, let me know in the comments because I'm completely open to doing these in the future. But again, I do have to stress, this is just my opinion. If you disagree with any of my choices here, I absolutely get that. Also, let me know about that in the comments. If you think maybe I got one choice wrong and you think maybe number 6 should be somebody else, you know, let me know. So yeah, I mean, I won't really take too long for the intro. Let's just go ahead and get right into it. So for number 10, I chose AGL Turles. Now, this guy is really good because he works very well with a lot of the worldwide download celebration units, more specifically the LR Cooler, or both of them, I guess. Just because this guy shares links with them like Big Bad Bosses, he has Thirst for Conquest, and then he's got stuff like Fierce Battle, Brutal Beatdown, which are all very good links to have for an extreme class unit. But not only that, this guy he gives all allies 3 key and 40% attack, and then he gives all allies 40% defense when there's a super class enemy. And this might not seem like the greatest thing to have right now because most of the hard events are extreme class dominated. However, with a lot of super class red zone stages on the horizon, for instance, we got Gamma 1 and 2, which they will be super class enemies, so I could foresee us getting a lot more in the future. And I do think you'd be able to make a lot more use out of this with Turles, so I still think him as a support unit is going to be very good. And of course, he's a pretty good leader skill for movie bosses, just 170 across the board. He gets some attack and defense on super attack, which is pretty nice. I think most good units have that, so him having that is for sure a plus in his kit. He does also have a medium chance to stun, so I mean that just makes him better in Super Battle Road. And he does also have this transformation, which is really interesting because he stacks when he's in it. So if you can get lucky with additionals when you transform, this guy could start to look crazy. Because when he reverts back to his normal form, or I guess he just reverts back, he does keep those stacks. So this guy is going to be looking really crazy. But, you know, he does get just a base of 200% attack and defense. And he is still a key support when he transforms. So, I mean, he's going to be just really good overall when he transforms. You get a nice little heal, you're stacking, you have a high chance to stun instead of a medium chance. But even though when you transform with this guy, I don't really think you're going to be able to utilize the stun. But, I mean, it is still there. And, of course, he attack debuffs, and then he's attacks effective against all types when HP is 40% or more. Or not 40%, 80%, excuse me. And then he does get the extra defense when there's a super class enemy. So, I mean, yeah, overall, just a really good unit. I don't want to talk about him for too long, so I did put him in the number 10 slot. Just because I think he's aged very well, but for sure, he's not the craziest Eza TUR on the list. So, alright, next up, we have the Super Saiyan 3 Bardock. Now, there's a lot of controversy around this guy. I personally think he's pretty good. I don't think he's amazing or anything, but I really don't think he's horrible. I'm somewhere in the middle. I think he's pretty good to where he'll be able to survive some difficult events. I do think majority of the time, if he's going to be ran in a difficult event, you're going to want to make sure he has type advantage. However, he is intelligence, so this makes it to where he will work good in difficult stages like Cell Max, the Broly Red Zone, or not the Broly, the Bojack Red Zone. So, I mean, there's a lot of hard stages where he will work good in. And, I mean, overall, he's a really good support as well. So, throwing him on the team is probably not that, it's not really a bad decision because he's a support. Depending on who else you have on the team, you could get guaranteed additional supers, which I think majority of the time you're going to be running him with a Power Beyond Super Saiyan ally. So, I do think that you will be pretty good there. And, you know, once you start getting multiple supers off, you start getting a lot of these defensive raises up. And then, you know, he does also have that seal in his super attack. So for Super Battle Road, that'll obviously be extremely useful. Then, I mean, this guy could get really, really good. The only downside about him is you do kind of have to run him in slot 2 or 3, which, especially with some of the difficult stages, they can lock you or seal you. And then if they do either one of those to this guy, he pretty much just becomes a 0. Because he gets all of his defense when he performs a super attack. So without that, he would be really bad. And then obviously if he gets locked in slot 1, you don't get to do your super attack, so then you'll just get destroyed before you super. So Bardock for sure does have a lot of strengths, but he also does have a lot of weaknesses. So I did put him at number 9. I feel like that's a pretty fair spot, but I am a global player, so I haven't gotten to play with him as much as maybe JP players, so my perception of him might be completely off, but I have still used him a couple times, and I think he's good, but I think he could have been just a little bit better, so because of that, I put him at number 9. And as you just saw, we have the Ultimate Gohan at number 8. So I did put this guy above the Bardock, and I mean, it makes sense to me, because I think this guy is just straight up better, right? Not only is he getting 50% defense on super attack, so I feel like that's going to be extremely useful, especially if you start getting additionals off, but he is greatly stacking attack. So, I mean, later in the event, as long as you get like multiple supers, which this guy does have built-in additionals, which we'll get to in a second, you could get some crazy attack stats. And if you're building this guy full additional, which I guess I do recommend you do, or not I guess, I do recommend you do, because of course he gets a massive amount of defense and attack on super, so the more you get, the better. You know, if you're getting 3 supers every rotation, so if you just get really lucky, you could start doing some crazy numbers, and defensively, you're going to be looking really good, especially if you get that high chance to guard activated. Now, he is one of those units, unfortunately, that only has a chance to guard, but the good news is that when he does get it off one time, he gets guaranteed guard for 4 turns, and he gets the additional that has a high chance of becoming a super. So, I mean, this guy's going to be really useful in terms of that. Also, if you do want to bring him in an event where he has type advantage, if you get hit from that physical enemy, that counts as activating his guard, and then he will have the guard for the 4 turns. So I do think that if you bring this guy in some specific stages, like, for instance, maybe the Bojack red zone, I know one of the Bojack minions in the first phase is physical. So then if you get hit with them, then of course your guard activates for the next 4 turns, and then bam, you're golden. So I do really think this guy is going to be useful there. And also, he's a crazy support. He gives all superclass allies 50% defense, and then Entrusted Will, 2 key, and 30% attack. So for sure, extremely good there. And I really just think he's going to be a good option overall. He works good with the new LR Go. Well, I guess he doesn't work good with him because they have the same name, so they don't share links. But he is a support for him, and of course he fits on a lot of the same teams. So I do think this guy is just going to be really useful overall right now, just because of his spots on the Ultimate Gohan team, or the Beast Gohan team. So yeah, I did put this guy in at number 8. But moving on to number 7, we have Tech Eza Vegito Blue. Now, this is another unit that's got a little bit of controversy because he is kind of a slow stacker. And I know that's kind of I mean, he's not really a slow stacker, I'll say this. He just, turn 1 isn't really that good, and how hard difficult events are hitting now, it's really hard to survive with this guy turn 1. I think this guy would have been a lot better if they gave him, like, guard for the first 3 turns, or maybe, like, damage reduction, or a chance to dodge for the first 3 turns. But unfortunately, he does not have that. So right now, you just kind of have to rely on throwing him in slot 2 or 3, and just hoping you don't get supered with him, and just building up because, of course, he does stack attack and defense, and he does get 2 additionals, each of which that have a medium chance of becoming a super. So once you start getting a lot of additionals off, your defense starts to skyrocket, and the more attacks you do build up to this 200% attack, which, I mean, I don't think I need to tell you, that's a very big number. So once you start getting to the latter phases, or the latter parts of the difficult events, you're going to have stacked up a ton of defense, you're going to be doing a lot of damage, and you can even throw him in slot 1 to make use of this little part of his passive right here, where he gets 3 key and a medium chance to crit when he receives an attack. Now, of course, you're only really going to be able to make use out of that in slot 1, so that's why I was saying you want to use this like in the later stages, or the later phases of events, once you've stacked up, so you can throw him in slot 1. But, I mean, if you're doing 3 supers, each of which have a medium chance to crit, and you're doing like almost 10 million attack stats, which, I mean, if you have this fully built up and you've gotten a lot of stacks in, you probably will be doing something close to that. That's really good. So I do think this guy can be extremely, extremely good, depending on how lucky you've gotten with his super attacks. But, of course, that all just depends on how lucky you've gotten with the super attacks. So this is kind of a gamble unit, but I do still think he's a little bit better than everyone else on the list, just because of course, you just throw him in a long event, he stacks up, he gets some crazy high numbers, and he does fit on a lot of good teams as well, because he is a Vegito, of course. So, yeah, I do think this guy is really good, so I put him at number 7. Now, for number 6, I have the Eza Kid Goku. Now, this is another one of those JP units that I haven't played with as much as some of the other people on the list, but I have still used him a couple times. I think I did a showcase on this guy, so I do still know what he's looking like, and I mean, he's good, right? Not really too much to complain about. I feel like maybe he could have been a little bit better, and what I mean by that is I think they could have given him some dodge, damage reduction, or guard, because defensively he can be a little bit wonky in some scenarios. However, he can still be really good if your HP is low. In terms of his defense, because he does get an additional defense boost up to 159% the less HP remaining you have. That is a very big number. So if you can get like between 10, 20, 30% HP, then this guy's defense is going to skyrocket. And then if you run him in slot 2 and 3, where you can get the 30% defense off before obviously you take any attacks, this guy's defense can get really good. And he does also have built-in additionals depending on your HP. So, I mean, obviously you could get that off and then your defense could start to get really good. So, yeah, and then he does also build up for some key and attack and defense up to 59%. So just the more you show up with him, or the more you use him in the events, of course, just the better he's going to be. So I do really like this guy, but I think he might, I don't know, he could have been just a little bit better. But, of course, he has been out for a couple months now, so he's not like the newest Eza, but he's still really good. That's why I put him at number 6. All right, so for number 5, we have the AGL Eza Metal Cooler. Okay, I don't know where to start. I mean, this guy's good. I really like him. He's at number 5, of course, so, I mean, he's a lot better than everyone else we've talked about on the list. Or, I don't know about a lot better, but he's better, in my opinion. But I don't know, there's just things about this guy that I really think are weird. I think he easily could have been within the top 3 if they just changed like 2 things. First off, they just need to give him defense right here as well. I mean, I know you've probably heard DTruth say it a million times, but if this guy had defense on his super attack effect, it would have been good. I'll say that. It would have been extremely useful because this guy can get to 500, 600, maybe even 700k defense if he's like Rainbow Link level 10. And if you could have gotten 30% defense after that, then he could have been crazy. Especially because he's AGL, so he has the base 5 additionals. And then if you build him full additionals, you can get multiple supers, and your defense could just get crazy. But unfortunately, he just gets 30% attack, but he does actually lower attack and defense as well, which is extremely useful because, of course, you'll be able to utilize that in stuff like Super Battle Road or Extreme Super Battle Road. He has a lot of attack and defense to build up to. He builds up to 100% with each attack received. So you take 5 attacks, you're fully built up. And, I mean, offensively, this guy could be pretty good. Of course, he does have that 20% chance to crit when there's a super class enemy. And then he does have the extra 20% when there's a pure Sands category enemy. Which, as I was saying earlier, most of the difficult events are extreme class dominated. So there's not really many events where you're going to get this full 40% crit chance. But, I mean, of course, in the future, we could see, like, a red zone for, I don't know, like, the Z fighters. And then maybe Goku could be in there, or Vegeta or something like that. So, he would be really good there, of course, and he would be able to utilize his crit chance. But, I mean, other than anything like that or any future opportunities, right now, that's not really too useful. And he does also recover HP, which it's 10%, which, that is a pretty big number. I mean, 10% HP at the end of a turn in which an attack was received is good, but you do have to keep in mind he does have to receive an attack, so that can get kind of complicated sometimes, but anyway, it is still really good. And then, of course, he does have the Giant Form or the Metal Cooler Core, which it's pretty good. Nothing too crazy. He just gets 2 ki, which isn't really that good. I think most Giant Form units now have to have some crit or additionals built in to be doing good damage, but unfortunately, this guy just has ki. But I don't want to talk about him for too long. I don't know how long this video is going to be, but I want to make it relatively short. So we'll go ahead and move on to the next unit. But yeah, I think overall Cooler is a pretty good unit, but he probably could have been just a hair better. Okay, so next we have the Eza Namek Goku. Now, I really like this guy. This guy can be extremely useful if he's got like a lot of his links active and if he's built up, because he does build up to basically 60% attack and defense, or I guess 59% to be more specific. And you only need to receive 2 attacks and then bam, you're fully built up. He does raise allies attack and defense by 30% for 1 turn, and this does actually apply to himself as well. So it's basically like he's giving himself 30% attack and defense for 1 turn. So this is going to benefit him a lot. And I mean, he's going to be looking really good in his pre-transform state. But when this guy starts to get really crazy is when he's transformed. Because not only does he stack defense, but he also has guard going on in his kit. So I'll elaborate a little bit more. He has a medium chance to guard all attacks, which that's even worse than the Ultimate Gohan. That actually does kind of suck. But you do have to keep in mind that similar to the Ultimate Gohan, he gets the guaranteed guard for 4 turns and then a high chance to crit when guard is activated. So as long as you get this once, and as I said with the Gohan, you could just receive 1 attack from a physical enemy, and then bam, you got guard and a high chance to crit for 4 turns. So this guy could be extremely useful there. I just think maybe if you don't get the guard off, you're probably going to take a lot of damage, especially if you have not stacked with this guy that much, because I think like right when you transform with him, he might not really be looking the craziest defensively. So you do want to make sure you build him full additional so you can just capitalize on him stacking. And yeah, I mean, he's going to be doing a ton of damage, especially if you get the high chance to crit right here. So overall, a really good unit. He does also have the rage thing, which I won't really talk about too much. It's good, but it's not anything crazy. You'll be able to do some good damage, and I mean, you'll pretty much guaranteed get a super attack every time you do this because he's a really good orb changer. But yeah, that's pretty much it with the Goku. Overall, really good unit. Not really too much to complain about, but well, I guess the guard you can complain about, but other than that, really good. So, all right, moving on to the next unit, we have the physical Future Saga, Future Gohan. I don't know why I called him Future Saga, but the physical Gohan, this guy right here. I mean, I think he's kind of universally known to be a really good EZA. This guy works amazing with the Int Vegeta and Trunks. He's probably one of their best linking partners next to the Int Majin Vegeta. And I mean, just overall, he's a great unit. He, of course, is helped out a lot when there is a Trunks attacking in the same turn, but you could still get away without one because he builds up to, what is it, 58% damage reduction. And 58% damage reduction is really good, even if his stats aren't crazy, because you could just throw him in slot 2 or 3, you get 50% defense right here, and you'll be at a reasonable level of defense, and you'll have 58% damage reduction. So you just want to make sure you get the damage reduction built up, which it is at the start of each turn. So it'll take a couple rotations to get him fully built up in terms of the damage reduction, but you will still for sure get it. So I mean, yeah, overall, a really good unit. I think his links are going to help him out a lot too. He has All in the Family, which is really good. He's got Dismal Future, which is pretty good. Give him some crit chance. He's got Prepare for Battle, Super Saiyan, and Fierce Battle. So all of those links are going to be very common to get with the people you're running him with. So yeah, overall, a really good unit. I just think that the difference between him when you're with a Trunks on the same turn and not with a Trunks is very significant. So I think sometimes you might have to go out of your way to put a Trunks on the team. And if you don't have, like, you know, the best, or not the best unit in the game anymore, but the Int Vegeta and Trunks, that can be kind of an issue. So, yeah, we'll see any Trunks units that come on later down the line. But for now, this guy is really good, but not quite number 2 or 1. Okay, so number 2, this is probably the most controversial part of this list. We have the STR Cooler. So, I mean, I'm sure as you can guess from the cooler being right there, you can guess who number 1 is. It's obviously the GOAT, Golden Frieza. No, I'm kidding. It's the AGL Gogeta. I mean, that guy's crazy, but we'll talk about him in a second. But Cooler, man, he is just something else. This guy is crazy. This guy is stacking defense. So, of course, in long events, that's going to be extremely useful because if you build him full additionals too, you can get multiple supers, and you can even get some of the supers that he has built into his kit, or additional supers, depending on if the enemy is in attack down or defense down status, which stuff like Super Battle Road, you'll get that active a lot. And I mean, you'll be able to stack up really quick. You're supporting Transformation Boost category allies for 50% attack and defense and 2 key, which is extremely useful. That is restricted to facing 1 enemy, and then if you're facing 2 enemies, you support Terrifying Conqueror's allies for 2 key and 50% attack and defense, which I don't really think you're going to get the second support as often as the first support, just because obviously most of the events you are only facing 1 enemy. But still, I mean, Transformation Boost support for 50% attack and defense and 2 key is really, really good because Transformation Boost is an extremely broad category. And of course, just more and more top tier units are just going to be constantly added to it. So the fact that this guy is a support to it is really, really good. And I mean, yeah, I don't think I mentioned his leader skill. His leader skill is really good as well. Terrifying Conquerors as a, you could run this guy as a good lead for Terrifying Conquerors if you don't have the LR 5th form cooler. And Transformation Boost, I don't actually think has a better leader than this guy. Yeah, this guy is the best Transformation Boost leader. Okay, so if you're going to run Transformation Boost, you're going to have to use this guy as the leader. So yeah, I mean, this guy is crazy. He's an amazing lead, and he works well with some of the best units in the game. Obviously, he is the best linking partner for the STR 5th form cooler, the LR one, and he works well with a lot of the coolers released during the Worldwide Download Celebration. And I mean, a lot of them so happen to be like top tier units. So that, of course, just helps this guy's performance a lot. And he's on some crazy categories. He's got some crazy stats. So even pre-transformed, this guy is just crazy overall. But then we start talking about him transformed. Now, don't get me wrong. Sometimes I don't transform with him just so I can constantly stack defense. But if I'm trying to do a ton of damage, you absolutely want to transform with this guy. Not only does he give himself 4 ki, so you're almost always guaranteed to get a super attack, but he has 2 additionals that each have a medium chance of becoming a super attack. And he's stacking attack. So all of them are just going to rack up the amount of damage you're doing. And then, of course, he does have the guaranteed crit if you're facing a pure or hybrid Sans enemy, which, as I was saying earlier, there aren't many pure or hybrid Sans enemies like in the difficult events. I mean, pure Sans, I guess there's the Red Zone Broly stage, but other than that, you're not really going to be able to make much use out of this. However, in the future, like I was saying earlier, we can see more super class Red Zone stages to where you can make use out of this. But he does also have the 10% crit chance per Rainbow Key Sphere obtained, so even if you're not facing a pure or hybrid Sans enemy, you could still get some crits going on. And he is also massively lowering defense. I don't really think this is as useful as everything else in his kit, but it's still worth mentioning. And I mean, yeah, kind of a short passive, honestly, but that just goes to show you, it doesn't matter if it's a short passive. This guy is still crazy. So yeah, at number 2, we have the Eza 4th form cooler. I almost called him 5th form. Well, I mean, it is a 5th form cooler. He transforms into 5th form. But yeah, we have the Eza cooler. And then, obviously, as you all know, at number 1, we've got the AGL Gogeta. Now, I've already done a ton of videos going over this guy's whole kit, so I won't go into too much detail because you guys probably already know his kit. But yeah, this guy's crazy. He's a really good leader skill. Not that Movie Heroes needed another lead. I mean, look at this. We've got... Yeah, we had the Goku and Vegeta from the Worldwide Download Celebration, both Gammas. We had one of the 7th year anniversary LRs. We have this Gogeta. So, I mean, we've got a lot of top tier Movie Heroes leaders. So, I guess that just goes to show you how crazy that category is. And Fusion is also a pretty good category. I think we do have a better lead in the physical 3rd year anniversary Gogeta. But still, another addition to it is nice. And, I mean, yeah, this guy is crazy. He's got the 50% attack and the 30% defense for 1 turn. He's got the high chance to dodge. So, I mean, regardless of what his defense is, you can still rely on that and just take no damage whatsoever. Between the 30% defense he gets on super attack and the 50% he gets when attacking, your defense post super attack is just going to be insanely high. He has attacks effective against all types as well. So, he's just going to be doing a ton of damage. And then you transform with this guy. And he is crazy. In my showcase, I was hitting 10 million attack stats that were guaranteed crits. Like, that's insane to think about. He does also have the 70% chance to dodge. So, like, I mean, as long as you can dodge, you're not really going to be taking any damage, right? You're probably not even going to be getting hit. I mean, unless the enemy cancels dodge, of course. That's what I was referring to when I said as long as you can dodge. So yeah, this guy is crazy. He greatly raises attack and defense for 4 turns. So if you get additionals, your defense will end up carrying, or even if you don't get additionals, your defense from that super attack will carry on to the next rotation, or the next 4 turns to be more specific. So, I mean, this guy is just crazy. You probably are going to want to build him full additionals, because then if you get 2 of these off, your defense is going to be crazy on the next rotation, and your attack, right? Because not only are you getting 2 50% buffs here, you get 50% when attacking, and you can have an extra 50% attack if you evade an attack. Like, dude, this guy's going to be crazy. Well, he is crazy. I mean, we already know what he's like. So, yeah, this guy's crazy. But that pretty much is the list. Let me know what you guys think of this down in the comments. If you completely disagree with it, again, let me know. Because some of these might not be ideal choices. I mean, I know maybe you could argue, like, I don't know, the STR Goku Black right here. You could argue him over the AGL Turles, because they are both really good extreme class supports. But, of course, I mean, this is just my opinion, so yeah, that has been the video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll catch y'all in the next one.